Hello, thank you for tuning in to Freethought Forum. I'm Mark Hamilton.
And I'm Dan.
And we've got a special guest today. This is Patricia Jones from the FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Welcome to the show, Patricia.
Oh, great. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We'll go ahead and finish the introduction, and then we'll jump into the interview. Okay. We're going to interview on today's show, and then we'll have some in the news at the end. And we'd first like to thank our sponsors, the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. And we'd also like to call attention to the regular meetups that these groups have all throughout the month. Every Tuesday, the Atheist Society of Knoxville meets up at a bar here in town and have drinks, eat food, and enjoy each other's company. And the Rationalists of East Tennessee do regular meetups every Sunday, almost every Sunday of the month. Lectures, potlucks, roundtable discussions, book clubs. There's all kinds of activities in town in East Tennessee for free thinkers. Free thinkers come in all different shapes and sizes, all different kinds, and we want you to know that you're not alone. And that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is to let you know that there's people right here, local, who believe and feel the same way that you do. And we'd also like to engage those who still have faith, who still believe in God, in religion, who are still
baloney.
Who's still very much a part of it, who want to engage us. I don't know about Dan or Patricia, but I don't regularly engage people who are able to engage people in a discussion about what they believe and why, and they can't ask me. I'm at my job and I can't talk about things like this. And so this is a great opportunity for someone with questions, or someone who thinks they've got something to contribute or something they really want to know about atheists or free thinkers, to call in. This is a live call-in show. The number is 865-215-2288, so you can call in at any point. Please interrupt the show. We'll be glad to include you in the discussion, answer questions that you have. And
for more information, you can go to knoxvilleatheist.org. That'll tell you about all the meetups. And today's meetup is just like it is every Tuesday, starts at 5:30, Barley's Tap Room, goes to 6:37. Just come on in. We've got the copy of The God Delusion sitting on the table, so that's how you'll be able to identify the group. So if you're going to go to the meetup at 5:30, and this show's from 5 to 6, DVR it, watch it later, tell a friend. We don't have an advertising budget, or any budget. Well, actually, I'm getting all of the money. We don't have an advertising. We got to spread the word, people. So tell your friends. Tell people. Watch the show. All right, get the word out there. Come on down to the meetup, 5:30 to 7, Barley's Tap Room, every Tuesday. And check us out, ctvknox.org, for live streaming. And if you're watching on Comcast, it's Channel 12, or on Charter, Channel 193. So that's the nuts and bolts of our show. We're going to get into it today. We're going to talk with Patricia Jones, who is a member of the FFRF.org site, which is the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
It's a state representative.
State representative for Tennessee. And so we're going to get into what that does and what that organization is all about. Because really, if you don't know what the FFRF is, that's where you got to start as an atheist. You got to get involved there. And you can go there and you can learn about how to keep religion out of your life. That's kind of how I look at it. But we're going to let Patricia explain to us what exactly her role is and how they work to help atheists in the world.
Well, FFRF helps not only atheists, but it also helps people in the secular world, or theist world as well. That FFRF will, it fights for keeping church and state separate. That when government is making decisions on what your faith should be, that gives people of faith less options to be able to worship as they feel that is fit. And a very prime example, most people are aware of, how things are going on in Islamic countries. That the government completely controls what is taught in church schools, or actually in mosque schools. And if someone has a dissenting opinion, that it literally can be a death sentence for them.
So let's talk about the United States before we get to the Islamic states here. Now, we hear a lot about the Establishment Clause in Congress, and there's a lot of debate, but the SCOTUS has ruled pretty clearly. Can you explain to us what the Establishment Clause is and how it takes effect in our Congress, and what has the SCOTUS sort of ruled on, the Supreme Court of the United States?
SCOTUS is actually eroding, the First Amendment, that Congress, shall make no law establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And Congress, excuse me, and our Supreme Court is basically saying, well, we'll open the door a little bit wider, and we'll give special treatments to particular types of religions, and and even people who are sharing, let's say Christianity, that Christianity, we have so many different subgroups of it. So one form of Christianity might have a different doctrine opposed to another side of Christianity. So one starts to become more dominant, and it can become a problem for people that have that they're saying, but that's not what my religion says, or that's not, I have a different interpretation of what my Bible teachings is. So when those things are happening, that it starts to erode your rights to be able to practice your religion as you see fit, because then the government starts making those decisions for you.
So what is your role in the FFRF?
So with FFRF, that it is there to it's an educational tool, and people that when they do see church-state violations, let's say there is Bible teachings in public schools, or if there's crosses on government properties, or like on water towers, or 10 Commandments that are on courthouse lawns. Now, those particular buildings and properties belong to all of us, regardless of what your religion is, or having no religion at all. So that is showing favoritism to one religion over someone else. And that also makes people who have a different opinion of that, it actually treats them as second-class citizens.
So can you answer this question? Because I get this asked all the time, or maybe it's more of a statement. People say, well, this country was founded on Christian values, and it's in the Congress that you have Christianity is in the Constitution. But that's not true.
No, the Christianity is not in the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States is very unique because it was the very first Constitution that is secular. Our country, the United States, is the first secular country that the world had ever seen.
That's awesome. And so I've actually used the FFRF's your resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I was actually at a football game, at a public school football game, and over the PA system there was a prayer, and it started, "Dear Jesus, blibbity blah blah, protect our players because that matters." And I was like, well, I think this is illegal. I don't think you're allowed to use public school and a public address to then purport your Christianity onto me.
Yes.
And so I emailed the FFRF, and I don't really like being like a tattletale or whatever, but it's like, this is wrong. You're violating the Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
You're breaking federal law.
Yes.
And so I alerted you guys, and then, that's kind of the extent of what I did, and then apparently a letter was sent, and there was some litigation, et cetera, and it ended.
Yes. FFRF, that most of their successes are through just letter writing. There are, I think, 6 full-time lawyers. And FFRF does not go looking for these church-state violations. They are notified by the public.
I think that's an important point.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That no one likes a tattletale, Dan, but that what we're trying to do, and it's very clear as a what I would call an established atheist myself, is we're interested in quality of life improvements for everyone, and that's being brought forth here, just talking about the FFRF. What the strides that they're making for rights, people's rights, is not just for atheists. It's not just for certain types of Christians. Or it's for all of us. It's for our protection and for our quality of life.
Yes.
And so when you see something that seems like it's violating your rights, that's very important. We're not just tattling, right?
Yeah.
That someone's.
Oh no, it's not tattling at all. We are a country of laws, and they are secular laws. If our country had biblical laws, we would allow stoning. We would allow child marriages.
It'd be barbaric.
It would be barbaric, and it's unfortunate that many people don't even realize what their religious texts actually have in it. It's most atheists know the Bible better than the theists who believe this. And it's atheism is something that is taken very serious by the people who have most atheists have actually grew up in a religious household, and they had the same belief systems, that their parents or their grandparents and the community around them. But then they become the free thinkers of the world, where they start questioning their own thoughts and their own beliefs, and they'll start asking themselves, why do I think a particular thing? And does this match reality? Is this right? Is this fair? And by reading religious texts, that is the surest way to make an atheist.
Yeah, we actually did a show on the reasons how you can become an atheist, and reading the Bible is pretty high up there.
Yes, it does. Yes.
But what the FFRF does is for us atheists, I feel like, and maybe you guys feel differently, but I feel like we're very passive people, because we're on the side of right. We know that we're correct, and so we're kind of like, it'll all sort itself out. All these dumbos, it's going to go away. But it's not. No. And so the FFRF is really the hammer. And what we, as atheists, we have to point out where the nails are so that you guys can hammer them home.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it goes to show just how effective FFRF is, and how rational. When people actually, they actually are doing church-state violations. They're violating the Constitution, the First Amendment. A lot of people do it unknowingly. It's been done for so long. No one's ever said anything about it, and it's like, well, how could this possibly be a bad thing until they're educated about it?
Right. Well, even if you're in a religion now, I know I felt trapped by a lot of things my religion was doing to me, and they were probably breaking the law, right? Yeah. They were violating my rights, and so you have to, when you're feeling that way, FFRF could say someone in a religion say, hey, my a member of clergy said this to me, or this is what the elders in my congregation are kind of, can they bring these kinds of things to the attention, or could they?
Well. Only if it is breaking a law that is on the books within our own country. Now FFRF does not tell a clergy person how to operate their church and to establish their particular doctrines or telling them how to be a theist. That's they do not that is not the motivation or objective at all with FFRF. It's simply to keep the wall of separation, to keep what religion belongs in your church and religion belongs in your home. But religion does not belong in our court system. It does not belong in our government. It does not belong in our schools. Those places are completely secular.
Okay, I have a question for you, and something I experienced last night. So there's a soccer field about, I don't know, half a mile up the road. It's called Sansom Park or something. And so I go in there, and there's a weight room. And I'm like, oh, this is a pretty nice weight room. And then I look up on the walls, and each wall has a Bible quote on it. And I'm like, really? Like, I have to be subjected to Jesus garbage while I lift weights and then go play soccer?
Yeah, but
I don't know what the building was, and so it's like,
now,
what?
If this is not a governmental building, this is actually a privately owned place, then they are within the right to put those things up there.
Right.
Well, I think this is a good distinction. Religion is constantly trying to force its way into places it doesn't belong. And here the FFRF is just making sure the buildings, the intention of the building or the establishment remains as it was, and keeping religion in its place.
Now, here's something that needs to be understood, though. There was a baker that decided, this is a person that actually owns their own business, and they decided they were not going to bake a wedding cake to a gay couple. And that has caused a particular problem, even though that they are, this is their own particular business. But since they are catering to the public, that under those circumstances, you cannot discriminate. It'd be like discriminating against people that are left-handed. Say, I don't think I should have to do something for somebody who's left-handed, or that person's short, or that person's tall. You can't.
Well, left-handed people. Let's keep the
you can't discriminate because you don't happen to like. To like them personally, but if you're providing a service to the community, then this business has been fined, and I don't recall the exact amount, but this I think is the travesty, that there are people that have donated through a GoFundMe $100,000+ to help pay the fine for this, and it's almost as though the public is rewarding somebody to discriminate.
Right.
And I find that rather disturbing.
So what would be the difference, though, if in that situation where someone's providing a service, whereas my situation where I am paying to play in this league and use these public fields, I mean, anyone can join, and then they're allowed to present. And again, I just want to know the rule. Like, I'm not really offended. I'm just sort of curious. Like, why am I allowed to look, or why do I have to look at that?
Okay, now are you talking about in a public?
It's a building. It's a public building where
building.
all these teams come and we all play, and I don't know who paid for it, but I pay to play.
Okay. Now, if the building is actually a governmental building that the taxpayers supporting it, then it is to be secular.
Okay.
Now, if it's a private club, and you happen to be a member of it,
That's
and,
probably what it is.
Say that's going to be the difference. Now, FFR can they can legally discriminate under those. Almost it's like, folks, get over it. I mean, we're all human.
Is this the kind of homework Dan would have to do before he approaches the FFRF?
I'll use public schools as a very good example, especially in the South. There's a lot of church-state violation in public schools.
Okay, let me stop you there, because I am a public school teacher, and I will tell you that I just have moved here, and I am now going around to the school. I'm substituting in the Knoxville area, and I see on dang near every teacher's desk a Bible.
Yes.
Now,
and I'll say some teachers probably don't realize that they're actually breaking the law, but I think most of them do. But but it's been done for so long, and they also know that the school, the administrators will back them up. But the way to counteract that is that for FFRF to do their letter writing, and FFRF will under certain circumstances they will take it to court. But most time school districts they don't like it. They do get a little bit testy about it, but they realize that if they do decide that they are going to contest it, that it costs the taxpayers, the taxpayers will end up footing the bill for any school district that decides that it's going to contest, when FFR notifies them that they have done a church-state violation.
Wow.
And they do lose, and that the school districts do have to pay, and it can become incredibly costly. And also insurance writers will also let school districts know, say, no, you better not do that because you will lose. And the reason why they lose is because the Constitution says that there is Congress shall make no law. So Congress is not making the law. So when any person who is a governmental employee, I'll give you an example too. That there's a sheriff, and he's from Florida, and he goes to his church and he preaches sermons in his uniform. Now, it's perfectly okay for him to go to church in his uniform, and it's perfectly okay for him to preach sermons. But for him to preach the sermons in his uniform, he is acting as an arm of our government. And now it's no longer private speech. He's no longer like I'm going to say Mr. Smith. Now he is Sheriff Smith, and Sheriff Smith is a governmental employee. He's a branch of that. A school teacher who violates the Constitution, where it's saying to separate their particular religious ideas, from the teachers are not there to teach the Bible. They're there to teach math and science and English, and if they
Real
want,
things.
the real things, and if the Bible stories, and their religion is important, there's Sunday school for that. There's Vacation Bible School for that, but it does not belong in a public school setting. And when a teacher is on taxpayer dollars time, and that they are promoting a particular, their particular brand of religion, they are violating the Constitution. And they're actually violating the rights of other people who have a difference of opinion with that.
You touched on this. This is a bad thing, even for people. You might be sitting at home thinking, that's great that the Bible's on the desk. They should stand up to this crazy Constitution thing that says they can't have that there. That's not a good thing for you either. Even if it's the Bible that you have in your house, even if they talk about Jesus, you touched on this, that they still might not believe the same thing, and your child or your family may be subjected to religion that you would rather not be. It's
and there's people too. There's just enough generational gap now. When people take a look at the currency, and this is
in God we trust.
I'm sorry, or like in the pledge. But most people don't realize that those things were put in there in the 1950s.
Right.
And it was put in there because our country was a very fear-filled country, which rather surprises me, realizing how strong and motivated they were with just having come through a world war. And then all of a sudden, the fear that our country was gripped with during the McCarthyism, and our Congress decided that they would put "In God We Trust," on our currency, and they removed the motto "E pluribus unum," which means of many one, and they put "In God We Trust," which actually it actually divides people, and and I know that that's really hard for a lot of people to understand, but not everyone worships the same God, and their interpretation of their holy books can be different from your neighbor, and then people who are not believers at all, it causes a discourse, and it's our country's just if that's what you want, and there's no you are not being prevented from practicing your religion. That's guaranteed in the Constitution. There's no problem at all. Don't worry.
Well, you don't got to get an argument from her. I'll argue with you. But so it begs the question, if it's illegal to have "In God We Trust" on our coins, why is it still there? But before you answer, we just want to tell you, you're listening to Freethought Forum. You're watching Freethought Forum. We're here every Tuesday, 5 to 6. If you want to get involved with us, KnoxvilleAtheist.org. rationalists.org. That's how you get involved with our group. If you got an idea for a show, you want to be a guest, you want to ask a question, you can email us, you can call us. Call us in right now, 865-215-2288. And we are here with Patricia Jones. She is a member of the FFRF, and she's explaining to us the Establishment Clause and what that actually means to the citizens of the United States and for believers and non-believers. And we just were discussing E pluribus unum and In God We Trust. And so you've said that you're not supposed to have that stuff on money. You can't talk about it in schools. You can't, whatever. Why is it still there?
I can only guess, but I think that there is not enough political will. I think that politicians, that they are looking at who are going to vote for them, and it is such a hot-button topic, getting it off of there. Now, there's been a lot of effort made to do it, but it will take an act of Congress, and there just isn't the political will to do that. And it's for a secular country, which is the United States, and to have that on there, it is a violation of our own Constitution.
Right, because I don't trust God.
Yeah.
Do you?
No. Yeah. If he existed, I wouldn't trust him.
Who's God?
Right.
Think about this. When people take a look at the money, and they're so accustomed to seeing it, it's been there since the mid 1950s. And if you woke up one day and you took a look at your money and it says under Allah we trust, people they would get their hackles up. Or how about a Zeus we trust, or Minerva we trust? You would no more believe in those than.
What about Aquaman?
There you go. So anyway, but it doesn't belong there. I think in humanity we trust. I think in science
that would be awesome. In science, I trust.
Yes.
But we talked enough about the FFRF. I wanted to ask you about what the other group you're involved with, which is the Islamic Women's Rights Group. So please just give us some background on that. Tell us how you're involved and what it is.
It's got a very odd name. I did not name it. It is called 72 Virgins. This is an international group. and primarily the people that are involved in this group are from Islamic countries, primarily from Pakistan, but there's from Malaysia and Uganda and Nicaragua and Nigeria and Canada, the United States, but 72 Virgins. It is to provide, and it's to provide information for about modernity and promoting rights of women and girls in Islamic countries. And there are many people that are very hungry for this. They want, it's, I am so heartened by what I'm seeing from young people in Islamic countries. They are eager for a change. They are actually looking at the United States, and other, and other first world types of environments, and they want what we enjoy. And unfortunately, we live in a country that wants to pull us back into something that they themselves want.
But
to
specifically
eliminate.
the women. And
specifically the women.
so we've heard all about the atrocities that happen with them throwing acid in women's faces
Yes.
for reading, and
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So what is happening with 72 Virgins is the group that is trying to promote awareness for these women and say, hey, you don't have to be treated like that.
Right, but also for men. The majority of the people that I get, and it's a closed group, and and I monitor very carefully when I do get a request, and I would say probably out of maybe every 4, I probably accept 3, which is, I think, very good. Most of them are young men. And that they genuinely care about the rights of women, but they really don't know how to go about. Like, okay, I know that there's problems. I can see this, but they need to step back and take a look, and say. And so I'm constantly looking on the network, and I will throw information out there, and it's. Well, let's see.
So what do you do? How have you helped them specifically?
Okay. I found some information a couple months ago. We're in Nigeria. That their president, I can't recall his name right now, but he has passed a law where it is illegal for female genital mutilation in that country, and over 90% of women and girls have been mutilated genitally. It's a horrific problem.
And they do this because they think it's because it's written about in Islamic culture, or why does this occur in the first place?
It's a part of the culture, but it's not in the Quran. It's a way to control women.
And it's a way to keep sexuality repressed.
Yes.
And they're saying if
Exactly.
we literally mutilate your genitals,
yes,
you will not enjoy
yes,
sex,
yes,
and
yes.
then we won't have to have that sinful act or something like that.
Yes. Oh, yes. Women are considered chattel. I mean, they are no more important than, let's say, for instance, a pack mule. They really
property.
They really are. They are
Secondary.
really not. They're really not. They are very, very secondary. Their job is to serve a man.
That sounds like they're worse than secondary.
Yeah.
They're not even considered. We've got a phone call, so we're going to go ahead and answer this phone
Okay.
call, Patricia. Thank you for calling Freethought Forum. You're on the air with Mark, Dan, and Patricia. Can we have your name, please?
I'm anonymous.
I'm sorry?
Anonymous?
Anonymous. You're anonymous. Well, thank you for calling anyway. Are you local, or are you watching us on the internet, or
Local.
Local?
And TV.
Excellent. Well, have you watched us before, or is this your first time tuning in?
First time.
First time. Well, thank you so much, and you're very brave to call in on your very first viewing, especially with Dan here. He's a handful.
Come on.
But I'll try to. Why are you calling? Do you have a question, or is there something you want to talk about?
No, I just have a comment.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I am not with FFRF. I'm with FOR.
FOR.
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know. You don't know what that stands for?
Well, just in case anybody watching doesn't know.
I mean, I know. I'm just not going to tell you, though.
Okay.
It's freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion.
Yes, I'm for Christ. I'm for what he stands for.
Okay.
this lady you've got on, she's just stuttering and stammering around like she don't know what the hell she's talking about.
Well, I don't know if you're watching the same show. There's a lot of ideas here that I've heard for the first time, and I think so far it's a good thing. It's a good thing to consider some of these questions. Dan had a lot of very specific cases. He was wondering about the way that our rights are being violated, not just atheist rights, but all of our rights.
I think they are way outnumbered in this country.
Who's outnumbered?
And I think they should know that. And in the end of the time, when it comes down to judgment, they're going to be more outnumbered. And it's going to be so sad for the end of their, in the end of their time, they're going to go to that place that's going to burn forever.
You're talking about hell?
Let her talk.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure that you know there are millions more that believe like I do. And there are even those that are sitting on that platform now that have changed their way of thinking, and they've come to realize that they're completely wrong. And I just wanted to state that I'm FOR, and I will be until the end of the world.
Well, thank you, Anonymous.
When will that be?
Soon.
Soon?
The world's ending soon, right?
Yes.
Okay. And like, do I got time to go get some dinner? Or?
Oh, she's left.
Thank you for calling Anonymous. Nothing we haven't heard before. I think it's dangerous to subscribe fanatically or to commit to ideas provided in an outdated book by outdated public figures. That's what we're just talking about right now, women's rights. And these barbaric, ancient ideas where equality is not even considered. And I think that when you're talking about, when you guys kind of were touching on the idea that this isn't necessarily in the Quran, but somehow it's ingrained in the culture. I hate to, I'll jump out. Just speaking for myself, I would speculate that even though it's not explicitly written in the Quran, that leaders in that culture, authorities in the culture, public figures, I mean, it's like these are unwritten things that are very much kind of woven into that whole mindset, right, or that existence over there. That you can't have an Islamic Muslim culture without. It's talking about things like this and talking about the rights of women, of them being violated and not treated fairly or equally. It's
or education.
Or education,
I'm sure most of you who have heard of Malala, and a few years ago, she was shot, and she survived this attack that was done by the Taliban, and her crime was she was attending school. And there are many women and girls, in Islamic countries that are denied an education, and our own country even had practiced that for a while, and that's incredibly alarming, and that's another abuse that unfortunately that religion ushers in, and what. I'm going to use like the United States as an example, that the advances that we have, and that for people who are religious, and for the amount of liberties that they have, they are enjoying those because we do live in a secular country.
Right.
And we're constantly have to be on guard for that. I no more want to take someone's religion away. I would like people to think a little bit more why they have a particular religion, but it's not my objective, to make that decision for someone. But I don't want them to make their religious decisions that start to infringe on my rights.
Right. So what I wanted to point out to our anonymous caller, who I'd like to point out also told us we were all going to hell and didn't want to give us her name. The FOR, the freedom of religion, is exactly what the FFRF is protecting. They're protecting your right to have your nonsensical beliefs.
Yes.
That's what they're protecting. And so for you to call up and say, I believe in Christ and that's what all that, well, that's not fair to everyone else who has other silly beliefs.
And I'd like to point out believing or backing up the teachings of Jesus or things that are in the Bible. Realistically, there's not enough there to form a worldview and to form an existence in the modern world. You have to start adding things to it to operate, and that's what we have trouble with. It's these weird, unwritten things that religion, when it's doing what it's not supposed to, kind of imposes on us, imposes on a society and a culture. And it could very easily happen. It is happening here,
It is happening.
not to the degree of genital mutilation, at least not to the degree that it is in the Middle East.
Right.
But things like this happen. We actually have a news story later on. We're talking about abuse of a homeschooled little girl.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So these things are happening, just not on a grand scale.
This young man, he was 19. He wanted to leave a Christian religion, and he was beaten to death. This was in New York City.
I remember reading about that just a few weeks ago.
His brother has been severely injured from this, and so it's the abuses of religion isn't as far away as we think. That
Right, yeah. And I think even if you are under the misconception that it is far away, it could just be right around the corner. The world is not ending anytime soon.
The sad part about it is that, I'll give a positive part, that countries and individuals that are secular you can find that they are peaceful people. There's advances done that that benefits the community. And that the violent and the trouble in the hot spots of the world you're going to find that it's going to be under the banner of somebody's God.
So actually, they've done studies in this, and places that have the higher crime rates have a higher correlation to religiosity.
Yes.
And that's very true in the Middle East. And
I live here, in the South, and I do love the South. I chose to live here, but I see that religion is actually holding back the South. And
I couldn't agree more.
100%. Yeah.
I don't think just the South. Don't stop there. It's holding back the world.
That's very true.
It's preventing the rest of our country.
But it feels
from
like we're
moving
behind.
forward. Yes. But there's very good meaning people. And I meet them every single day. They have good intentions, but. And that's another thing I like to touch on is with Freethought, and it's like questioning why one has a particular set of beliefs. It's comfortable. You think, and you take a look at the community that you live in and the family that you grow up in, and you have a particular belief, and those beliefs are instilled in you at a very early age.
Right.
And and religions follow families and they follow communities. So if you live in the Southeast, you're probably a fundamentalist Christian. If you are in India, you're probably Hindu. You might be Jain. If you live in Saudi Arabia or Pakistan, you'd most likely be a Muslim. And so religion is, it's you don't choose religion. It's something that has been indoctrinated into you.
Right. If we were born in the Middle East, we would be very different people.
Yes,
Right.
yes, you would. Yes, you would.
And they're not compatible either. At least even if we were all peaceful, which we're not, even if all religions were peaceful towards each other, you're incompatible at the point where someone gets the heavenly reward, someone gets the virgins, someone gets to enter the pearly gates of heaven or whatever, and then the rest of everyone else is wrong. And so it's so weird that how do you decide who's right? I think that's where I started questioning. If somebody's claiming they're right, how is that so, and how is that possible? And so that's we've got another phone call. The first one was great, so I hope this one's just as good. Thank you, caller, for calling Freethought Forum. You're on the air with Mark, Dan, and Patricia. What's your name?
Chuck.
Chuck. Thank you for calling, Chuck. Are you local?
Yes.
You are. Have you watched the show before?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So we got a regular watcher. Thank you so much for calling in. Did you have a question or something you wanted to say?
The argument has been made that while God may be a necessary part of religion, it's not sufficient. It does not, belief in God does not in itself constitute a religion. If that's accepted,
Okay.
then the Freedom from Religion Foundation can involve people who believe in God.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, there are definitely people that have gotten a hold of FFRF. You know, they're concerned about that they've been put into a minority position by a dominant religion in their community, and they're saying, no, this isn't going to work. So we do need to separate, and keep it secular, so that protects everyone's rights to follow their own conscience.
Well, you're talking about in God we trust, and that sort of thing, on our money, and the argument was made by President Eisenhower that those things are okay because they only involve God. And his argument was, didn't care whether you're Protestant, Catholic, or Jewish, if you believed in God, that was the main thing. And that went back to the Declaration of Independence, what talks about endowed by our Creator.
But it didn't
the argument was that that's a tacit admission that we are godly people.
Well, if no one else has anything to contribute, we've taken the extra leap here to. We were just talking about the nature of free thinking, and what you do is you're asking why you believe something, and I've taken the leap, and Dan has, and Patricia has. We're atheists. We've kind of asked the question: well, if you're going to believe in God and not commit to any of the organizations out there that claim to support them, well, what do you do with it? And why do you still believe in a God, and what has he done for us? And I guess that would be shifting the discussion. But we've all kind of found that there are not good reasons for, I did not find any good reasons for myself to continue believing in God. And so I don't trust in God. Dan doesn't trust in God. Patricia doesn't trust in God. And so that's kind of the context of that discussion that we were talking about. And I wouldn't agree with President Eisenhower.
I like Ike.
I like Ike, yes. He was a brilliant man, but sometimes men can also be wrong. Yeah.
Very true.
But I'll touch a little bit on the Christian Bible, that there are no original texts in existence. They are lost to us. That the Christian Bible is copies, and its revisions, and its additions. It's gone from
and forgeries.
Aramaic. It went from Aramaic, and that was the language spoken of the time of Christ, and it was translated into Greek. It was translated into Latin. It was translated into English, and it's constantly. I'm going to use a hot word here. It's constantly evolving. Anyway, so there's very few people alive today that could probably read Aramaic or ancient Hebrew. So and also as I said before, the original texts do not exist. So everything that is in those texts, as uncomfortable as this is going to be, they are the word of man.
Right, and many would say that man created God as a way to sort of control and conform and keep the peace.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with all you say, but what I'm trying to point out is that in this country, going back for a long time, this is the kind of argument that has been made, and unless you can, as an atheist, I can't see exactly how you get around this. People will say this country argued that, well, we have a written constitution, we also have an unwritten constitution that implicitly states that we believe in God. And that went back at least as far as the Civil War, when a group of 11 northern ministers decided that the reason we had civil war was that God was left out of the Constitution, and tried to change the preamble so it explicitly included a belief in God. And that kind of thinking has gone on for a long time. So you can talk about all the things about the Bible and all of that, but unless and until you go directly to the question of what's wrong with the belief in God in our government, I think we've gone beyond that point. I think people know better. They know that the Bible is God is man-made.
Well, Chuck, we really appreciate your call. We appreciate the time you spent calling in and talking to us, and that's some great points. And what I wanted to say is that we don't have a problem with the word God physically imprinted on a coin. That doesn't matter to us. But what was being supposed as the Christian God. If we could all just go, whatever, it's just a word, but that's not what's happening. We're saying it's the Christian God, it's the God of the Bible. That's what that means. And we're saying, and the FFR is saying that can't mean that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm going to, excuse the pun, I'm going to play devil's advocate. That I think most theists can actually understand what it's like to be an atheist. And what I mean by that is that I would find it rather surprising if there is a theist that is laying awake at night and going, gee, should I convert to Islam? Or how about, should I be the follower of Thor? How about Odin? And you would probably, if someone to say, well, gee, do you go to the church, the church of Athema down the street? And they're going to go, what? So, and say, well, I don't believe in that. That's myths. Those are fairy tales. And I'll say, yes, you're absolutely right. And at one time, all the gods, and there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 gods. I'm not sure on the number right now, but it's in the thousands. And at one time, there were people who were just as adamant that that these gods existed as every God-believing person is today. And those gods are no longer worshipped. Those gods have literally become extinct. And at some point in time, the gods that, I'm sorry to say this, but the gods that that modern humans are worshiping today, that your descendants will not worship them. Something else will probably replace them or not be replaced at all.
I think even Chuck touched on it, that it's dangerous when you start talking about these implicit or unwritten rules, these unspoken things that we're all supposed to listen or adhere to anyway. And this isn't, and you brought this up, we're not talking about some non-specific God. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Christian God. Mm-hmm. And I think this is this is no more, you can no more see it today than before. It's when we had the attacks in Paris, and then the United States, people were calling for only Christian, refugees to be allowed in. So we were going to start allowing only. So don't fool yourself into thinking that we accept all forms and all types of gods. We're only putting forth, as in this in God we trust. A fallacy it's a stretch to think that people don't know what that really means. Right. And that's not okay. That's bad for all of our rights, not just atheists, not just people who are going to hell, but yours too. So, well, I think we're getting close to the end. I think the hour is flying by. I don't know about you guys. We want to definitely highlight your role in the community out there. Now, you're from Cookeville, Tennessee.
Yes. And
we're in Knoxville right now. That's where we do the show from. So Cookeville's between here and Nashville, to give you an idea. And you wanted to highlight that there is an active community, free thinkers, atheists in Cookeville, Tennessee, which I'm not surprised, and I am surprised. Just like I was here in Knoxville when I was like, "There's atheists in Knoxville. There's a TV show in Knoxville, Tennessee, for free thinkers and atheists." So we want to talk a little bit about that. So do you have any kind of community or meetup in Cookeville?
Yeah, we do meet up now. They are the group. The group is specifically atheists, and there are we're a good bunch of people. And the group is actually growing. It's been a slow start. It's just finding us, and the names of these of the individuals. There is autonomy. There's concern. And it's not my position to let you know about them as individuals. But I can tell you a little bit about some of them. Some of them are lawyers. Some of them are doctors. Some of them are healthcare professionals like psychiatric nurses. They're truck drivers. There's retired police officers. So we have an interesting mix of people.
It sounds like it.
College students. Veterinarians, and so there are just a good bunch of people. So
Well, we talked about it a little bit. A lot of times, atheists. Most of the time, we come from we were part of a religion at one point. Is that how you found atheism from a religion, or
I grew up in a Christian household, but it was, I'm going to say, mostly holidays. It might have been a church attendance. There was prayers before a meal, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, but my own personal experience, my parents weren't heavy into religion. And now I've been an atheist now for almost 50 years, so it's a long time.
Yeah.
So, but my recollection is, I just thought it was just oddball fairy tales, and it sounded a lot like fairy tales that other fairy tales I heard, and it kind of surprised me that people believed it, but I being young and not not having particular thoughts of my own or something to compare it to, I just sort of like going, okay, well, went along with the flow. So it wasn't until I was 14 that I figured out, I thought, I know what I am. This is really cool. And then I found out I'm not the only one. I thought,
right.
That's even better. But I was smart enough to know not to bring it up because that's a hot button topic.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, I have lived the majority of my life as a closet atheist, like until tonight. So.
Well, congratulations on taking the plunge. I've been waiting for my mom to watch this show and then disown me, and she hasn't yet. So I don't. You may or may not be in too much trouble, but isn't that a shame that? And I know there's some current concern Dan has about being outed as an atheist, and that's it's too bad. It's too bad that.
This is something I think is really cool. That I have to give a huge compliment. And I mean this in the most sincerest way. That very religious people are secular most of the time, and when they are secular, they are the coolest people. They're the most easygoing people you could possibly imagine. But when they turn on religion, they are a little strange.
I'm saying it lightly.
I love them dearly. I have incredibly good friends that are theists. But the more secular they behave, they find that actually life works easier for them. And they find that they get along with people better.
You know what's really disappointing, and you're kind of going on this path, is that when you started talking about, you say, I'm gonna have to say it this way, or you have to kind of apologize. Don't apologize for the nonsense. Don't do it. Don't concede that it's good. You can have your thing. We have to stop being passive atheists. We need you. We need more people out there who are willing to write the letters and call people on their nonsense and go for it. Right?
Oh, for sure. And also, I would really like for theists to know that you would be surprised at how many atheists are in the community. I'll be honest with you, I was very surprised, moving to Tennessee, how many atheists I have met. And I'm an atheist, and that has really surprised me. And I think that's wonderful. Yep. But I can appreciate their concern. We're viewed at suspiciously. I think the reason why is because people, they think they don't know atheists, and you actually do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's not just you're not alone if you're an atheist, and if you have a faith, you would be surprised of the atheists that you have encountered and maybe not have known. And we don't just want to sin. We're not sacrificing goats all the time.
Speak for yourself.
Well, we want to hit some more information about our sponsors. Is that what we want to do? In case you're just tuning in, this is Freethought Forum. It's a program supported by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. The shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 right here on the channel you're watching at this moment, Channel 12 or Channel 194, depending on your cable network. And we're streaming online at ctvknox.org.
And the Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets 1 or 2 times a week. We have evening meetups for food, fun, drink, and conversation. Our purpose is to supply a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheists, agnostics, free thinkers, and other like-minded people in East Tennessee area. Our Tuesday night meetup is going on right now at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria in Knoxville, Old City. There's some talk about going to see the new Star Wars movie once it comes out.
Atheists watch Star Wars?
Absolutely.
They go see movies?
Perhaps on December 25th. And so, go to knoxvilleatheist.org if you want to find out more information on that. The second Sunday of most months is the Rationalist of East Tennessee Skeptics Book Club. The title of the December book is Lawrence in Arabia, War, Deceit, Imperial Folly, and the Making of the Modern Middle East by Scott Anderson. So Sunday, December 13th, 2 p.m. The public is invited to participate. You need not have read the book to attend, of course. It helps. Visit rationalist.org to find the best find the rest of the calendar of books and join us at new location Books of Millions at 8513 Kingston Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee. I just learned to read today.
There are things going on for free thinkers and atheists right here in East Tennessee. You're not alone. And I think that our anonymous caller said something about that there's a lot more of them. There's a lot more of them than there are of us. And I think that's true. But
right now, the last I heard that like 1 in 5 people are non-believers in the United States.
The nuns, as we call them. And actually a study just came out that actually there's only 8% actual Christians. They're now no longer the majority in our country, which is excellent. I think we've made some progress here, but I think we can go further.
We've got another phone call. We need to we got to jump right on it since we're wrapping up, getting close to the end of the show. Thank you for calling Freethought Forum. You're on the air with Mark, Dan, and Patricia. What's your name?
David?
David? Is that right, David? Hey, are you local? Are you calling from in town?
Yeah, well, in the region. I'm in this area.
Wonderful. Have you watched us before?
Not this show, no.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you for watching, and thank you for calling in. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I mean, this may sound like a silly question, but what is an atheist? I mean, do y'all believe there's a God? Or
that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. No.
What would you say, Patricia?
Let's say an atheist is someone who does not believe in the existence of a God. You will not find an atheist says that there is no God. I mean, we're not that arrogant. I mean, can I prove that there isn't a God? No, but also the burden of proof isn't on the atheist. The burden of proof is on anybody who says that there is. And the evidence that has been presented over 2,000 years, specifically with Christianity, none of it holds water.
There are good reasons to not believe in God.
Anyway, but technically, or the most simple way to put what is an atheist is somebody who does not believe in the existence of a God. I believe in humanity. I believe in good.
It's a great question, David, because there's actually a lot of different, if you were to Google atheist or atheism and look up a wiki entry or something, there's a lot of different definitions and different degrees of atheism. But yeah, to put kind of broadly, it's safe to say everyone at this table doesn't believe that God exists to varying degrees of I'm sure there isn't one, or I've just not seen good enough evidence to start believing that he's a certain way, or he's the way this book says. And it's just like our anonymous caller said, it's not a good idea to believe something just because it's old, because it's really old, or because there's a lot of people that believe it. But,
David, we would love to hear more from you. Please call back next week. We're running out of time. Call us back at our number, 865-215-2288. Get out your pen and paper. This has been Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Dan.
And I'm Mark. Please send us feedback and leave voicemail at 865-272-9060 or email us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
You can see the show on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 Eastern Time on Knoxville Station at 2200 Greenwich Mean Time at ctvknox.org.
Patricia, we appreciate so much having you on. The opinions expressed on the show are of the hosts and our guest, and not the official opinion of Ask or RET. And I don't know, the hour flew by. We had so much more we wanted to get to. We didn't get to any news, which we always like to talk about.
Next week, Mark and I will be back. We're hosting an all-news hour. We'd like to thank Sam for helping us on the boards, Faithless Forest out there for screening the phone calls, Patricia for driving all the way in from Cookville.
Thank you for having me.
And check her out if you go to Facebook and you Google, or Facebook Google, or whatever that's called, Patricia Jones, and look for what we've been talking about.
Well,
FFRF.org.
Yes. FFRF.org. I did Google Patricia Jones FFRF, and you pulled right up first result. So if you have, if you want to get involved with the FFRF, or you've got something you'd like to report, or talk to Patricia more, it was a wonderful time. But
nuns. Those who identify with no religion are the fastest growing religious group in America. Right here in East Tennessee, the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee are places you can find fellowship and fun. And we want you to remember, you are not alone.